Hello and welcome to today's MozyPro webinar on restoring data. My name is Craig Cole. I'm the Senior Technical Education Specialist here at Mozy, which is a fancy way of a guy that gets to talk about how much he knows. So I get to laugh at myself a lot. Today we're going to be covering the restore process. We're hoping you never get into this situation. At the same time, that's what MozyPro is designed for. It's to make it so that if there is a disaster or a problem with your machine or otherwise you need to access your data, you know how to do it. So we're going to go over the different methods for performing that particular task. We're going to start with just a brief introduction to the admin console or administrative console. Just because this is typically the place people start when they do a web restore. There are other ways to perform a restore of data. We are going to talk about them, but we are going to spend some time looking at the web restore client. There have been some changes to it recently, and hopefully that will be something that you'll find beneficial to go over. We also are going to have a question and answer period at the end of the session. It'll just be about 10 or 15 minutes where you're welcome to post questions about the webinar in general, but I will, if I have time, field questions, just general support questions you may have and haven't had time to reach out to our support personnel as yet. So I will try to get to those as well. Again, allowing for time. We're trying to run for just 45 minutes. However, we have some leniency either way if we need to. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with just a simple slideshow, just a slide deck, just to look at some of the features of the admin console. Then we're going to jump right into the demonstration. I'm going to try to keep this brief. And hopefully it will be of value to you. All right, so there are some things that we need to go over first. MozyPro is designed for business users so that you can manage your backup and your data from the web as well as from the machines themselves. This allows administrators or owners of businesses, which are a lot of cases the administrators themselves, some flexibility in restoring and managing their account. At the same time, that flexibility, the ability to do multiple things, makes the tool somewhat complex for some people. So we're going to try to give you a review and help you to understand how things work and what it looks like, and give you some context for when you have to do it yourself. So with the admin console, we can manage users, we can manage machines, we can manage groups, we can deal with the licensing, storage quota. There's also a significantly long list of items that could go underneath here, but these are kind of the core components that we deal with the admin console. So we're going to talk about some definitions first. So in order to really understand what we're talking about, when we talk about the administrator from a MozyPro account's point of view, we're talking about the person to whom the MozyPro account is assigned or owns the account or set up the account, or someone who is designated to help manage the account by the account owner. In addition to regular administrators, you can also have sub-administrators, or you can designate other people who have either the same role as the administrator or even a smaller list, such as just purchasing resources or just assigning resources out to users, such as storage space. We also have users. A user is someone that is given a quota and a license and a machine that is assigned to them, a computer that is assigned to them that they're going to be backing up with. Now, an administrator can be a user, but not all users are administrators, and vice versa, really. Not all administrators are also users. And then you have resources. Resources, when we mention the word resources, we're talking about licenses, storage quota, machines, or any other component that is part of the backup that can be managed through the admin console directly for a MozyPro user. So logging into the admin console is pretty simple. The address you really are going to is the secure.mozy.com/login. However, there's a shortcut to getting there, and that's just type mozy.com/login and hit enter, and that will redirect you to the secure site. An administrator is the only one that really has access to this in a MozyPro account. And unless you designate a special web address for your users, regular users will not have access to the online restore tool that we're hopefully going to have time to demonstrate today. So here's the login screen. It's very simple. You put in your email address, you put in your password, you click login. And of course, if you've forgotten the email address or the password, there are links there to help you remember them or recover them if you need to. If you don't have an account, of course, you can sign up. And here is the admin console itself. Now, again, why are we doing this when our webinar is really about restoring data? Well, the primary way that people go about as an administrator restoring data is through the web console. It's not necessarily the best way. It's not a bad way to do it. There are just multiple options. If you go through the web interface, you can restore data from any machine that you have administrative rights over. You can restore it to your machine and then return it to whatever new computer or rebuilt computer if the computer's crashed and someone's fixed it. So you can do that from this interface. The other option would be to install the Mozy client on the new machine or the machine that's been rebuilt, put the license key that was used on that machine back in there during the install, and it will automatically reassociate with that particular set of data, or it will ask you to replace the old machine with its data. So it makes it available to that machine. Okay, we're not going to spend a great deal of time looking at that. There are some excellent tutorials at support.mozy.com. If you click the tutorials link, there are video tutorials that are 3 to 5 minutes long, and they walk you through simple tasks like restoring data through the different interfaces. I would recommend that if you need some help with those functions, or just about any function with this entire admin console, that you spend some time at support.mozy.com and click on the tutorials button in the upper right hand side. All right, so let's actually take a look at what the admin console, just to kind of review what we can do. We can purchase resources, that's buy more licenses for computers or assign quota. We can create manage groups of users or machines. We can create manage administrators. We can transfer resources, that's keys and quota, between groups and users. We can create reports of backups and what kind of usage we're getting out of our investment in MozyPro. And then we can, of course, restore files. So let's jump out for just a minute. Let me just check to see if we've had any questions pop up. We haven't. Again, if you do have a question in the middle of our presentation, please feel free to put that in the questions section of your GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar software that's up there. Now, again, we're going to log into the admin console. It requires your email address and whatever password you've set up. Let's see if I can remember. Oh, I missed it. Now, of course, it tells you. Oh, I missed it again. I've missed it too many times. Oh, I know why. All right, so it popped up with this helpful little thing, and this looks a little confusing. What it's doing is it's confirming that no one is trying to hack into your computer or to your account. We don't want someone to use automated programming to sit there and try to log in over and over until they guess your password and get in. So we have this helpful CAPTCHA in here to prevent that, as it says in the screen. Prevents evil robots from accessing your account. All right, so here we are inside of my test MozyPro account, and I have a bunch of machines that are still actually backing up. We have 3 hours. We've got some that have never backed up. We've got our standard MozyPro interface. Now, I'm interested in looking at a specific machine. So I'm looking for a machine that has the phrase Craig C in it. Well, that's not actually what we want. Well, sorry, I want train. So we're going to look at all of these different training machines. You can see these all showing up here. And you can see how long it's been since they backed up, etc. From in here, from this interface, we found the machine that we want to look at. Now, that's the machine name. Now, what if you don't know the machine name? What if you only know the user to whom that machine is assigned to? Well, over on this left-hand side under users, we can search or list users, and we can type something like that. And this is the one that we really want to look at. It's this one right here. So we're going to just click on that link, and down at the bottom it opens a window or a little box that has information about that machine. Now, this is helpful because it gives us a great deal of functionality. Again, we're the administrator, so our job is to make sure that this machine is being used or is otherwise doing the functions that it should. Now, we can see that it hasn't backed up in 8 days. That might be cause for concern. Now, not alarm, but concern. We should find out why. Now, I happen to know why this machine's not backing up. It's nothing sinister or bad, but it makes for a good demonstration. You will see how long it's been since a computer has backed up. You can also see the license key that's assigned to them. You can see what the email address is for the person. That's the user's identity. And you can see how much space they backed up, what the name of the computer. Up in the upper corners of this box, you can see delete user, change user password, change user email, or even log in as the user to experience the web interface from their perspective. Now, we're going to focus on this last one here, which is restoring files. Now, if you click this link, I'm going to go ahead and open it in a new window or a new tab here. So I click this link, and what it's done is it's opened the new restore interface for Mozy. This was just recently launched in the last week or so. This is a new interface, but it contains a relatively similar set of capabilities to what you may be used to with previous versions of our restore interface on the web. Now, if you need help with the specifics on this, there is as I mentioned with the admin console, there is a web tutorial that's about, I think it's about 3.5 minutes, I can't remember exactly, but it goes over this interface, what you can do, how it functions, and again, at 3.5 minutes, it probably will give you a good overview of how the entire interface works. Now, I'm going to briefly review it here, just to give you an idea of how to do this restore. Now, again, what I'm doing is I'm restoring data from a computer, not this one that I'm on, which also has Mozy installed on it, not on this one that I've got installed right here. I'm going to go and grab the data from this other machine that hasn't backed up, and I'm going to restore it to this one. Now, to see what's going on, you'll notice it has a dashboard, which is just kind of showing you what's going on with this particular account. And then you have devices. Now, devices is nice because it lists all of the machines that are assigned to a particular user. A single user can have multiple machines. So if I'm interested in this particular one, I can go ahead and click it, and I get a couple of options. Now I can restore what's called a backup set. If you're not familiar with backup sets are logical groupings of files based on some computer logic as to why they are backed up. There are things like back up all of my text documents, Word documents, and so forth. You could also have a backup set for all of your pictures or all of your movies. Those are all things that might be included in your MozyPro software, but also can be modified by your administrator. Okay, so I'm not going to focus on backup sets. I'm going to go to specific files that I'm interested in restoring data. So I'm going to go ahead and click here and go to Documents. Oops, it's actually, yeah, we'll go to Documents. Okay, and then under here, let's say, let's see. Let's go ahead and restore some slides here. These are just some training slides that I have. Now, if you look at this, it shows the list of files that have been backed up. It shows you the amount of data that each file is and the last time it was modified. So if I wanted to, as an example, download a single one, I can just put a check mark next to it and I can click Download Now. Now that's one way to do it. Now what if I want 4 of these files? Okay, I want these 4. So I selected 4 different files to download. On the right hand side are some options. Now I guess I should go over these just briefly. We have the Restore All files, which will just grab all of the files that are on this device and restore it. It does the same thing as this Emergency Restore option, which is up at the top. So if you log in and you just need to grab all of the files for this particular machine, you click that, it'll ask you which device you want, you click Restore or Download, and you download those files. Okay. All right, there's also Include Deleted Files. Now there's a question, this kind of creates some confusion for people. Why would I want to restore deleted files? What we mean by that is files that you have backed up to Mozy, but then you have subsequently deselected or told us that you no longer want that file backed up. It could also be a version of a file. Deleted files are interesting because we keep them for 30 days. So if you flag them for deletion, we give you 30 days to change your mind. In other words, you decide that this document that you got from your lawyer is outdated and you no longer need it. So you select it to no longer be backed up. You run a backup. It's selected on our side to be quote-unquote deleted. What that means is after 30 days, we will no longer allow you to restore that file, and we will delete it from our servers. Okay. We also have Change Date. Now this is an interesting option here. If you click Change Date, you can go back in time and look at restores from that particular date, and it tells you right here, currently viewing Wednesday, June 13th, 2012. I'm in the same folder. It's deselected the files, but notice that it's got files from that date. What that means is that version of the file from that date. This allows you to go back in time and grab an older version of a file that's been backed up to us. It can be helpful, and we frequently get people who are very happy to have this feature in case they need to retrieve an older version of a file. Now I'm going to go back to our original date here. It should reset me back to there. I'm going to, oops, let's go back to here. All right, so I'm going to select 4 files. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I've got 4 files, and there's clear selection. Again, that's pretty obvious. There's details, which gives you more information about what's going on. The ones we're most interested in are this Download Now link and the More Download Options link. We're going to click on Download Now. It's going to pop up, and it has taken and has given us the restore zipped up and ready to go. Okay, what is this doing? It's taken these 4 files that I've selected. When I click Download Now, it took those 4 files on our back end from our server's perspective, created a zip file for you, and allowed you to download it. Now if I want to, I can open that, and we'll see that these 4 items show up. These are the 4 items that were selected. So very easy for you to restore those files. Now, so that's a very easy way to restore data. Now there's other ways to do it as well. You see this More Download Options? We can also, let's say, we can create a name for this restore. We click Next, And then how do you want to do your download? Now there are multiple types of downloads. There's a compressed archive, which is kind of like what we just did, where it creates a zip file and it allows you to download. We also have the recommended, which is to download using a restore manager. We're going to choose that option. But first let me qualify this last option. You'll notice there's a ship on media option, and there's a fee associated with it. We've had some people who come to us and said, you know, we want to restore our data, but we don't want to download it because either our bandwidth is too slow, or for whatever reason we're going to be at a location where we can't download it. So we need you to ship it to us. So we give you the option of taking and building DVDs for you. We'll ship the DVD to you. We'll take that DVD, you'll decrypt the data on it, and you'll have all that data available to you. If it takes more than one DVD, we'll ship you multiple DVDs as well. There is, again, a fee associated with that. The more data you have shipped to you, the more cost-effective it is per gigabyte. All right, so we're just going to do this recommended restore manager. I've gone ahead and selected that. I'm going to click the next button. And then it gives me this option. Now, in order for this to be successful, we have to download the Restore Manager. We have to install it, which is pretty simple. We'll just give it just a moment to finish up. And then, just a second, it's taking its time today. Sometimes I take my time too. Okay. When this finishes, what we're going to do is simply select the restore, the name of the restore that we want to download. We just can click begin download and it will send this. So we click on it and it opens up in the Restore Manager itself. Now what this Restore Manager does is it sees the list of files, where we want to. We're going to select a different location to save these files. We're going to say on the desktop, and we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it Restore for Webcast, Webinar. How about Webinar? Okay, we click Next. All right, so we've saved that, and then we're just going to click the next button and Finish. Now it's going to one by one download the files into that folder. Okay, it's completed. Now that's pretty simple. Oops. Look at that, it put it in the new folder. All right, so there you go. We've got our 4 files. They're in the folder and we're ready to go. Now that's just one of the methods for restoring. There are actually 4 methods for restores that we can perform. That's the web restore, and there are more options, and you can play around this. Look, there's kind of a ribbon, so if you need to go back to, let's say we want to go back to the documents directory, we just click on that, takes it back to it, we select the items we want, and we're ready to go. That's the web restore. Let's take a look at okay, so we do have a question about the restore, this restore interface. Let me quickly answer it, and then we'll continue with the other options for restoring. We had a question that revolves around, is there an opposite to the change date function, where, say, we go back in time and we want to select files for this particular date, and then select all those. So, meaning that, is there an option to select just the most recent version? And the answer to that is, if you simply select the date of the most recent one, and then select Restore All Files, it will only restore the latest version of that particular, any files that have been selected. In other words, your currently backed up files that have been selected for backup. So to answer your question, yes. You simply put it on the last backup and do a restore of all files, not selecting to include deleted files, and it will grab just the ones from the most recent backup. That's an excellent question. Okay. All right. Let's continue on. So we have other options for downloading. If we are, and this is just from my desktop. Here's a folder, and here's a list of files. If we want to, now I actually have both Mozy Home and MozyPro installed on this, and I don't have this particular folder backed up using MozyPro, but I do with Mozy Home. But the steps to do this are pretty much the same. Okay, so if I need to restore to a specific folder, I can right-click in the folder, and I can click Restore Files and Folders, and it will give me the option to simply grab those files that I want and restore them to this location. So that's another option. So a right-click restore from inside of Windows Explorer is also possible. The best way to perform a restore, now again, I'm just going to show you inside of Mozy Home, because the difference between Mozy Home and MozyPro as far as the look and feel and how web restores are done, are pretty much identical. Here we go. So if we come over here to restore, I can come in here and I can select the files that I want. This is just called an in-client restore. So if we come in here, you'll notice that in my Mozy Home client, again, almost identical to our MozyPro interface, you'll see that we can download these files. We just select the files we want and we click Restore Files. So it's very simple if you have the MozyPro software installed on a new machine with the same license that a previous machine that may have failed or hard drive crashed or whatever. You can just come in here and restore that data. You may need to come in here and change the date to the date that machine that broke's last backup in order to get this to restore the data that you really want. So here we go. We've gone back in time. We're selecting files from the 20th, and we're going to select all these files for restore, and we can go ahead and click Restore Files and give us those files. All right. That's 3 of the 4 restore options. The fourth restore option actually comes from inside of Windows Explorer again, but has a little bit of a different flavor. If you click on Computer, you'll notice these 2 options here. If you click on them, they're called virtual drives. If you browse down them, what they have is a list of all of the files that you have that you have restored, and you can click on it and you can click Restore. Right click and click Restore. So you can restore a file through this interface as well. So there's 4 different ways to return your data to you. The most common one used is probably that web interface, and the one that we recommend most of the time is that people use the in-client restore, which is this last tab inside of the settings. Come in here, select the files you want for a restore, and click the Restore Files. Alrighty, let's go ahead and open it up for any questions that you may have about Mozy in general, or about what we've talked about today. If you have any questions, just go ahead and post those. Just in a second, I'm going to open that up. All right. If you have any questions about MozyPro in general, you're welcome to ask those as well. Be glad to answer any of those. If you're new to MozyPro, welcome. All right. Okay, so Chris is asking for additional information. Let me read over this and see if we can answer your question. Okay. All right, so you have a new server, Chris, and you need to do a fairly large restore, okay, via the download. That's great. And you'd like to get the vast majority of things restored to the new server now, and then restore files that have changed when it's time to go live on the server. Okay, so it's very easy for you. If you take the old machine, the license that existed on the old machine, and when you do the install, when you install the new client on the new server, if you install it with the old license that you used on the old server, it will ask you to replace the old machine, which is fine. When you install that, it will associate all the files that have been backed up with the previous machine with this new server. You can select all the files you want from the latest backup, and then you can continue to back up data from the new server as well. So the two of them are basically merged together, and the new data set and the old data set become the same data set to it, or the same amount of same content. We may need to take this offline in order to discuss, because I think there are additional things that you're looking for, and I don't know that I'm answering it. So if you would please just send me an email, the address that came with the webinar. You should be able to reach me. I'll be glad to get the answer for you. We also have a question by Bill. Okay, so Bill is asking, if you click on the icon, it comes up as the settings window. Okay, so that's true. It will. The settings window will pop up, but you'll notice there are multiple tabs. You just have to click the Restore tab. Make sure that you're in the Restore tab. Also, the Restore tab might not show up if you have not had a successful backup yet. So until you have a successful backup, you can't restore anything. But the Restore tab, if you click that, when the settings window comes up, notice there's all these different options. We could go over the options, but the Restore tab is the one that we're most interested in. Hopefully that answers your question, Bill. You do have, we have another question from Mike. This is an excellent question. If you look at this, it has the option down at the bottom of overwrite existing files or rename copy if original file exists. The default behavior is to rename a copy if original file exists. When you do a restore to a directory, if let's say I restore these, you'll notice that if we look over here, I already have a copy of all these slides, right? If we come over here and look in this is the same folder that is referenced here in our restore frame. So if I do a restore of all these files, what's it going to look like? Well, it's already got a copy of them. But if I do that, what it does, the default behavior, is to rename the file as it downloads to include a new name. Just it appends parentheses 1 or parentheses whatever the version number is in that directory, so that we don't overwrite the existing ones. If for some reason the data that exists in that folder is suspect or is something you want to overwrite, you can select overwrite, and it will simply take the data that is on our servers and overwrite the data that's sitting in that folder or those folders that you selected for restoring. Hopefully that answers your question, Mike. Okay, we also have another question from Mike. Can you pause a backup, shut down the machine, restart the machine later, and have the backup start from where it left off? Or will it start back up all over again? That's an excellent question, Mike. We actually have byte level resume. As long as your machine is healthy and your machine's been acting, was doing it properly when it did the backup, we should pick up right where we left off when you click the backup now or restart that backup. It does not start all over. So if you have many gigabytes of data and it's taking you days to upload, have no fear. If you shut down the machine and restart, it does not start from the initial spot. It picks up right where it left off. That's an excellent question, Mike. Okay, so questions. I'm not exactly sure on this question. I might have to get a little clarification from Dion. Restoring from the local system, just to qualify that, restoring from a local system, if it's a machine that is having some trouble or it's been replaced, just make sure that you're using the same machine or a machine using the same license. You can go in and using that same license replace the old machine, or as an administrator you can log into the admin console, find the machine, and restore it through the web interface if you so choose. Okay, so Bill, I'm going to have to, if that is indeed your information, if you'll just send me an email from the account that is the administrator, Bill Lewis, if you'll send me that question via email, I will get one of our techs to give you a call and we'll help you get that figured out. I'm not exactly sure where the confusion's coming, but hopefully when they get on the phone, they can remote into your machine and help you figure that out. Okay, so another question by Angel. You do not need to know the original location necessarily in order to restore a file. Let me just read here. Okay, so your question, Angel, it sounds like in particular you're talking about an Outlook PST file. An Outlook PST file is an email file where email is stored for Outlook clients. If for some reason you restore that file, it brings down the original file, has the email, has all the content in it, but one of the things that can happen is it will be flagged as, the emails will be flagged as unread. I don't know of a quick workaround for this. I think this is just the behavior of Microsoft's Outlook product itself. There isn't a quick way to get around that. I think you just have to go and remark them as read. It's a limitation of the Microsoft Outlook client. It's not a function of the Mozy Pro client. When you restore a PST, that's what happens. And PSTs are Microsoft's storage archive for email in Microsoft Outlook. So unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to help you with that. Let's see. Do you have to select something other than backup now after you restart a paused backup? Let's see. Do you have to select something other than backup now after you restarted a paused backup? Not exactly sure what you're trying to say there, Mike. 1 second here. When we pop up with, again, you have to excuse me, I'm just going to pop up my Mozy Home client, which again looks very similar. If you look at this interface, you can click, after you click Start Backup, it just continues to back up right where it left off. You don't have to do anything fancy other than that. If you have paused it, you do have to be careful. If you leave it paused for a long period of time, it will start to give you warnings that you haven't completed a backup in a while, and it's because you've paused your backups. So that's a possible sticking point. It's not terribly difficult. But again, if you just click that Start Backup button again and get it rolling, it will go ahead and continue its normal backups, whatever it's scheduled, either it's scheduled or automatic backups, whatever you have designated. All right, Bill, I got your email address there. I'll go ahead and use that to, again, get someone to reach out to you, and we'll figure out whatever problems you're having, make sure you're taken care of. If there are no more questions, we're going to go ahead and call it. Oh, wait a second. We do have another question. 1 second. Set up a file back. How can I change? Oh, okay. So here's just this is a very common question. It's one of the most common questions that we get is, how do I select files for backup? The easiest way is, here, I'm going to close this down. I'm going to demonstrate this. if you come down into your system tray, you find your Mozy icon, and you double-click it and click Settings on the thing that pops up. Inside here, the easiest way is this File System tab. You see that File System tab? And then you just browse down to whatever file it is that you are most interested in backing up. And there you go. So it's very simple for you to come in here and say, I want that file backed up. Click OK. And now those files are selected for backup. So you can change it, you can go and delete them. Very simple to go in through that interface and make changes to it. All right, good question. Any other questions for us today? All right. Well, thank you very much for your attendance. These webinars are held on a monthly basis. We are trying to help you to feel comfortable with your MozyPro software. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to reach out to us. There is a large knowledge base and community out there. If you go to support.mozy.com and explore that website, you will find that most of your questions are answered there. However, of course, you can reach out to us if you need assistance. That's what we're here for. Thank you very much for your attendance. We hope you've enjoyed your session today. Look for this webinar to be posted in our community so that you can go back and listen to it at a later date in case you missed anything. Thank you very much for your time, and look forward to talking with you again. Thank you and have a good day.